Episode 21, Witch's Woes. We begin not with the Winx, but rather Icy, floating in a dark void. She doesn't know why she's here. She wonders where her sisters are, or... Selena? The name keeps slipping away from her. She then spots a white fox in the distance, but is unable to give chase, finding herself freezing in place. She hears her own voice telling her to give in to her despair, to stop fighting back, and to yield to the nothingness. As she begins to doze off, floating in this void, we zoom out to see she's inside what looks to be a cube prison. Many more cubes float around hers, all gathered in a green void of ominous mist and lightning stretching on forever. Lethe floats through here, saying that new hearts filled with turmoil have arrived, courtesy of the Legendarium's new owner. They hope that these witches' woes will soon be over. We then cut to Stormy's prison, where we get to see her recalling her past. Her younger self is on her homeworld of Callisto, the planet of storms and thunder. When children with strong magic are born on Callisto, they're placed under limiter bracelets to keep their magic from going out of control until they come of age. Stormy in particular was able to conjure up powerful bursts of lightning and storms when she was born, and thus was given such strong limiters that they wound up rendering her nearly powerless. This led to a paradoxical upbringing, where her parents and those in power viewed her as a potential threat, while her peers mocked her for seemingly being unable to tap into her supposed power, which led to a split in Stormy's very sense of identity. As she grew older, Stormy practiced in secret to try and unleash her magic through the limiters, only able to create small sparks through them. She'd also channeled her energy into storm crafting, a practice where those with storm magic help to shape the weather on Callisto and other worlds to keep their climate stable, to the liking of the royals at least. When she managed to create a small unexpected rainstorm, her limiters were strengthened, and she was barred from storm crafting lessons, which led to her learning the art in secret and veering towards creating more dangerous weather phenomena, such as tornadoes, hurricanes, and lightning storms. When Stormy came of age to have her limiters removed, her parents in the kingdom refused, saying her behavior and magic were too volatile to be trusted. She might even have been forced to live with these limiters for the rest of her life. The prospect was terrifying and infuriating, and Stormy sought to free herself of her limiters in any way that she could. When she finally succeeded, she unleashed her magic in an isolated, mountainous region to grow accustomed to her powers. She was soon approached by Icy and Darcy, who were impressed with her abilities and claimed they could help to make sure no one would ever hold her back again. To prove herself, Stormy unleashed a massive hurricane and several tornadoes against the Callisto Royal Palace, and was thus officially welcomed as the third Trix. Remembering her past, Stormy realizes that she's in yet another prison. Mustering her fury, she unleashes her power, freeing herself. Though the strange landscape confuses her, she realizes that her sisters must be here as well, and she rushes to find them. We then cut to Darcy's history, on her homeworld of Wisperia. From a young age, she excelled in the dark arts, able to create vivid illusions and hallucinations in others, and likewise had always been able to lucid dream. She quickly realized she could extend this ability to her waking life. Due to her parents being neglectful, she often created idealized illusions of them to soothe herself, but this escalated into her using her illusions to manipulate others at school. She went on to study at Zaltora Academy, where she quickly became one of the top students, finding herself in competition for the valedictorian spot with her classmate Nex. In an exercise to strengthen her illusions, she wound up falling into a deep trance, trapped within her own mind. There, she encountered a dark part of herself that encouraged her to do whatever it took to get where she wanted. Once she awakened, rather than outwardly competing with Nex, she befriended him, even forming a relationship with him, learning both his advanced illusory magic and his deep personal secrets. When it came time for their final exam, Darcy used her illusions to manipulate Nex into failing and disgracing him. When he confronted her, Darcy insinuated that Nex had been playing the same con as her. She'd merely beaten him to the punch. Nex simply said he hadn't lied about anything, then leaves, saying he hopes Darcy will be happy with her illusions. Eventually on, Darcy's skills earned her quite the reputation, which caught the attention of Icy, on the lookout for new recruits. Icy pitched the idea for them forming their own coven, and feeling empowered, Darcy was more than happy to join. As Darcy begins to realize she is in a kind of illusion, she refuses to be trapped in another's web. She breaks out, and as if on cue, Stormy finds her. Darcy deduces they must be in the Legendarium world, which Stormy admittedly had not figured out just yet. In any case, Stormy says that they need to find Icy and get out of this place, and Darcy uses her magic to try and locate her psychically. And at last, we cut to where it all began. Icy was born to King Boreas and Queen Isolde of Diamond, a world of ice and snow that opposed the prosperity brought by the Great Dragon. With the fall of Domino, Diamond saw this as a perfect chance to accrue power for themselves. And so Icy, along with her younger sister Sapphire, were born with only one purpose: to see which of them would be chosen to lead a new coven to end the era of the dragon and fill the magical universe with cold and darkness. Through years of strict training and tutelage, the sisters were pitted against each other, told they couldn't rely on anyone but themselves. Icy was considered the favorite of the two, and the sisters were often taken into the harsher regions of Diamond to strengthen their magic. At one point, Sapphire nearly died, and when Icy instinctively saved her, she was reprimanded by her parents for this apparent weakness, and was thoroughly punished as such, leading to her resenting Sapphire. Discontent, Icy decided to take her fate into her own hands, free of her family's control. She contacted the spirits of the ancestral witches, who in return for Icy becoming one of their successors, revealed that the dragon flame still existed, even after Domino's destruction. With this discovery, Icy opted not to extinguish it, as was the goal of Diamond. Rather, she would find a way to harness its power to achieve far more power than her parents had envisioned. With the magic that she had learned from the ancestral witches, Icy confronted her parents, denouncing them and freezing them both solid. Her fury wound up freezing all of Diamond. Sapphire attempted to stop her, which resulted in much of the ice becoming freezing seas. Icy couldn't bring herself to freeze her sister, but knew that she needed her out of the way. As such, Icy transformed Sapphire into a white fox, leaving her on the surface and promising to restore her form when she had gained enough power. Unlike her sisters, Icy begins to spiral, chastising herself for failing time and time again, calling herself weak, and wondering whether Sapphire was even still waiting for her. She begins to fall deeper into oblivion, with Stormy and Darcy trying to pull her free. During this, we see the memory of the Trix confronting Selena about the Legendarium and Acheron. They believe Selena would be better off without the book, given she's a powerful enough witch on her own. Selena refuses, saying that she would be nothing without Acheron, which immediately raises alarm bells for Icy. Believing herself cornered, Selena heeds Acheron's demand, using a spell to trap the Trix in the Legendarium. They are condemned to the Legendarium world's deepest abyss, where the legends completely forgotten about are doomed to fade, the realm of oblivion. As the Trix try and hang on to their senses of selves, they cling to their hatred of the Winx, blaming the fairies for their repeated failures over the years. That hatred also extends to Selena for her betrayal, sealing them away in this dark, forgotten place. The darkness envelops them, ironically freeing them from Oblivion's pull, and in that darkness their powers merge, and from the shadows emerges a fusion of their hatred, the Megatrix. They tear open a portal to escape Oblivion, and arriving in the Legendarium world, they vow to destroy Selena and the Winx once and for all. Episode 22, The Fairy Godmother. We begin at Eldora's cottage, where Eldora is preparing tea for herself. where Eldora is preparing tea for herself, Bloom, and Selena while Bloom practices her magic outside. A creak catches Eldora's attention, as well as a strange whisper. Making sure no one's around, she checks a hidden compartment and is relieved to find the Legendarium is still safely inside. As she closes the compartment, she's startled by Bloom asking her if everything's okay. Eldora asks where Selena is, and Bloom explains that she had to head home early, clearly upset. As the two have tea, Eldora asks Bloom what's on her mind. Bloom admits she's not sure about going to Alfea. She's still so young and about to start high school, not to mention she has her family to consider. Eldora assures Bloom that it was merely a suggestion. Bloom asks Eldora if she went to Alfea. Eldora says that she never got the chance, but she imagines it would be a fun experience. Bloom asks why a fairy would live on a non-magical planet like Earth of all places. Though she doesn't give a clear answer, Eldora does look in the direction of where she keeps the Legendarium, saying that she's a bit of a nomad. She travels everywhere to share stories and wisdom, but wherever she goes, she's always able to bring her cottage with her. So long as people like Bloom and Selena believe in the good in the world and dream of a kind, gentle fairy godmother, Eldora will always be there to guide and protect them. As they look out the window at the forest, we cut to Bloom in her old bedroom in Gardenia in the present, looking over her drawings of the forest of flowers. As she heads into the kitchen to show the Winx, Mike, and Vanessa, we learn that Mike and Vanessa only faintly remember Selena from Bloom's younger years. For whatever reason, Bloom stopped talking about her, and so Mike and Vanessa decided not to pry. Bloom explains how she had often just draw however she felt, and the image of this forest and cottage kept coming to her mind, which Musa assumes is probably her unconscious way of trying to process her experiences. Even with the Lethe spell suppressing her memories, they still found ways to manifest through her drawings. In any case, Bloom is certain that the Forest of Flowers is around here somewhere. Meanwhile, Selena decides to go through with the Witch Queen ceremony, and since imprisoning the Trix, she has gained control over the Owls of Diamond, able to command them as obedient puppets through Acheron's crest. To complete the ritual, she needs one last item, an object of her own regret. This item appears to be in Eldora's cottage, and given the Winx are headed there too, Selena's not looking forward to confronting Bloom. Cutting back to the Winx, Flora leads the way as they enter the woods near Gardenia, using her nature magic to communicate with all the plants around them, which eventually leads them to the city's outskirts. Bloom recalls the entrance to the forest being almost like an alternate world. There was a clearing of Lanusias, a special magical flower grown by Eldora, and just past it was a ring of mushrooms where, once you offered a Lanusia, you would be taken to the Forest of Flowers. Roxy relates this to stories that she's read about fairy circles, assuming Eldora must have picked up on the trick from lore about the terrestrial fairies and the White Circle. Once they cross over, though, they find a somber-looking forest before them. All is silent with no signs of fauna. A dense fog begins to roll in, accompanied by a sharp chill in the air. As they continue, they pass a stone gate, which Bloom recognizes. However, she notes it's far more worn down, overrun with vines and rust than it used to be. At the very least, they've successfully reached the Forest of Flowers. As they walk, eerie noises echo from beyond the trees. Bloom spots a Lanusia directly ahead, though this one appears to be different somehow. And Flora senses something off about it. Before they can do anything, the flower releases a burst of magic pollen. The Winx cough and struggle to catch their breaths, but when Bloom comes to, she finds herself alone. She looks around, then spots Selena turned away from her. We then pan back to see the other Winx are still there, but they can't see or hear each other, and they each chase a loved one off in different directions into the wilderness. Stella sees her father, Flora sees her mother, and Tecna sees both of her parents, all walking away as the girls call out to them. Aisha sees her old friend Anne, Roxy spots her dog R2, and Musa sees her mother and hears her singing. In the process of trying to catch up to them, however, each one is paralyzed once the person they're chasing turns around, revealing completely white eyes. They are then ensnared in darkness. Stella, however, notices that the figure isn't casting a shadow and isn't hitting any trees or leaving footprints. and therefore is an illusion. With her moonlight, she dispels the illusion, destroying the figure. An applause sounds off behind her, and Selena emerges from the tree line congratulating her. As Selena explains her ruse, we see Bloom chasing the illusory Selena. These figures are the Wailing Wisps, malefic spirits said to haunt the Forest of Flowers, using the images of loved ones to lure intruders to their doom. Once Bloom catches up to the fake Selena, she slowly approaches, saying that she somehow knew Selena would be here. She doesn't remember everything just yet, but she's trying and she wants to try and make things right, or at the very least just talk. Selena is unresponsive. Bloom pleads with Selena to just talk to her, and as Selena turns around, her eyes shoot open, revealing nothing but pure white. Selena sneers, then unleashes a wave of darkness before transforming into what appears to be a ghostly figure in a black cloak, with no face, long spindly arms, and sharp claws. It wails, and many more specters emerge from the forest, surrounding Bloom. Before she can transform, she is enshrouded by a dark wave. Bloom is then taken back to the past, where she sees her younger self training outside of Eldora's cottage with Selena. Bloom shows promise with her fire magic, though she struggles to control such power, with Selena having to dodge stray sparks. Eldora handles it no problem, saying that Bloom would benefit from studying at Alfea College for Fairies. Bloom is in awe at the idea of going to a magic school in another dimension. Though when Selena mentions them both going, Eldora says non-magical beings can't enter the magic dimension. Selena hides her disappointment, though Eldora insists upon Bloom going to Alfea. Bloom asks Selena what she thinks, but Selena doesn't respond. Bloom says that if she did go to Alfea, she wouldn't leave for a while, and she wouldn't be gone forever. Selena is still upset that Bloom would even consider leaving her behind. She found this cottage to try and impress Bloom so that they could spend more time together again, but now it's threatening to drive them apart. Before Bloom can try talking to her, Selena storms off. Back in the present, Stella is trying to fend off the wisp with her magic while also trying to fight Selena. Stella makes a sarcastic comment, "Some best friend you are," to which Selena remarks that Bloom simply found pushovers to keep around, though in Stella's case, she remarks on her being just as selfish as Bloom. Stella responds, "Says the one who's using a Selenian artifact to get revenge on an ex-friend." The mention of Selenia confuses Selena, to which Stella says that maybe Acheron hasn't told her everything about the Legendarium. Seizing the moment, Stella sends up a flare, using the Dragonflame connection to guide the falling lights to the other Winx throughout the forest, which manages to wake them up, allowing them to transform. Realizing Bloom is near Eldora's cottage, she runs off, leaving Stella to reunite with the other Winx. Bloom's visions are continuing, however. On the night of a full moon, Bloom and Selena are staying late at Eldora's cottage, with the cover-up that they're staying at each other's houses for their parents. Bloom wakes up in the middle of the night to find that Selena has disappeared. As she tries to find her, she overhears Selena talking to a man named Acheron inside of a book. He claims that though Selena was born magicless, he can provide her with great power, potentially enough power so that she might not even need to stay with her friend Bloom anymore, but might even surpass her, if only she would pledge herself to him and help free him from this book. Bloom rushes in, catching Selena off guard. Asking what she's doing and refusing to answer, Selena decides to pledge to Acheron right then and there, and is thus given lunar magic, becoming the Witch of the Moon. Acheron makes a comment that that's not exactly desirable, but it'll have to do for now. And so Selena decides to flee before Eldora wakes up. She rushes out of the cottage with the book in hand. Bloom calls out for her to stop. Selena pauses long enough before the bridge leading to the woods for Eldora to awaken, heading outside and demanding Selena return the book. Refusing, Selena uses the Legendarium to summon the Gloomy Wood Trolls, mocking Bloom about creatures like this awaiting her in the magic dimension. Bloom manages to hold her own against the creatures with her magic, though she relies on Eldora's power to protect her. Selena rushes to escape, but Bloom tries to stop her, in the process accidentally burning her hand. Bloom is paralyzed by shock and guilt, while Selena scrambles, nearly dropping the Legendarium. Holding the book in hand, she screams about how Bloom has always taken her for granted and wanted to push her away, and says that she wishes that they never met and that Bloom would just forget about her. In the process, accidentally using the Lethe spell on her. Not that Selena quite knows that just yet. Eldora manages to use her magic to get the Legendarium away from Selena, and so Selena is forced to flee into the woods. Once the trolls are neutralized, Eldora uses her power to scan the woods for Selena, but finds that she's already disappeared. And Bloom, meanwhile, has fallen unconscious. We then see Bloom a few days later going to school. The desk next to her is empty. And when she's asked about Selena by a classmate, Bloom simply asks, "Who is Selena?" With the vision complete, Bloom transforms and fends off the wisps, eventually coming across the old clearing before Eldora's cottage, which, to her shock, looks abandoned, overrun with flowers and vines. She heads inside, calling out for Eldora, but gets no response. Dishes sat scattered around the sink that haven't been cleaned, a plate full of crumbs at the small dinner table, and several books lay strewn around the couch and coffee table. Bloom begins to panic, muttering to herself that Eldora must have left. But why would she have left her cottage like this and left everything behind? Selena calls out to Bloom, telling her not to worry about Eldora. Bloom is confused, then asks if Selena knows what happened. Selena looks down, and as Bloom asks again, Selena simply says, "She's gone." She found out shortly after stealing the Legendarium. Bloom cries in utter disbelief that Eldora could be gone. She looks to Selena, asking her how she could still do all of this after knowing Eldora must have felt so heartbroken in her final days. She doesn't reply, and instead begins looking around. Bloom stands, tears in her eyes, refusing to let Selena ransack Eldora's cottage, asking if she cared so little for her that she can do all of this. While Selena scours the place, Bloom spots a couple of envelopes over on the table. Finding one is addressed to her, and the other to Selena. She calls for Selena and holds up her letter, asking if this is what she's looking for. Selena looks ready to fight, but Bloom doesn't. Instead, she holds out the letter, and slowly Selena approaches and takes it. Bloom asks if this place brings back a lot of memories for Selena too. When Selena jokes about her not remembering anything, she quickly realizes Bloom has managed to overcome the Lethe spell. Bloom apologizes for hurting Selena that day and for making Selena feel so left behind, but asserts that helping Acheron won't make anything better. Bloom gives Selena a chance to turn over the Legendarium so that they can talk things out, but Selena refuses. Selena says that she has nothing left but her ambition, and once she becomes Witch Queen, she'll have everything she ever wanted. Before Bloom can say anything else, Selena uses illusion magic to disappear, leaving Bloom unable to find her as the Winx arrive at the cottage. With no other clues, Bloom opts to read the letter Eldora left her, finding that it includes pressed Lanusia petals. As she reads, we see flashbacks of Eldora's past, including her times with Bloom and Selena. I also want to preface that what follows is an idea created by Nutelia, patron and fellow Winxer, also created Felomoda back in the Musa episodes. This is her pitch. My pitch was a lot more morbid. So anyhow, everyone thank Nutelia for your tears that are about to start flowing. Eldora reveals that she isn't from Earth nor the magical universe. Rather, she's a character from the Legendarium world brought to life. The Legendarium itself has existed since people began sharing stories and myths. The Legendarium has no true author, or rather, every living thing capable of sharing stories is a collective author. And since the Legendarium's creation, the book has always been accompanied by a caretaker with roots from the fictional world who safeguards it in the real world. A new caretaker is created with each new Legendarium edition, which spawns as the legends people believe in change, meaning Eldora is the idea of a fairy godmother people have conjured up across the ages. She had hoped that by going into exile, she could keep Acheron from manipulating anyone else, from wreaking havoc. But when she met Bloom and Selena, that fear evaporated. She felt connected to two good-hearted children who had given her life and hope again. But after Selena attempted to steal the Legendarium and Bloom had forgotten all about her and her magic, Eldora felt that she needed to help stop Acheron. She approached Faragonda, the headmistress of Alfea, whom Eldora assumes Bloom has already met since then, and asked her to keep the Legendarium locked away somewhere safe, even though disconnecting the book in such a way would likely mean she'd fade, and a new fairy godmother would take her place the next time the Legendarium was read. Faragonda abided, promising to send the Legendarium to the Museum of Magic. Before then, Eldora decided to leave letters for Bloom and Selena. She pleads with Bloom, if Selena has fallen down the wrong path, to save her from Acheron's manipulation. Eldora regrets contributing to the rift that had formed between them, and tells Bloom that she has to maintain the connection she forms, and that includes mending the bridge between herself and her childhood best friend. Mystic powers may be enticing, as are far-off fairy tale realms, but a true friendship is more precious than any magic. Selena, meanwhile, has returned to Alfea. She stares at the letter. The new Eldora, appearing behind her, asks if Selena plans on reading the letter before her big moment. Selena refuses, saying that there's no point. She wasn't her fairy godmother, and she's gone anyhow. All that she has is herself and Acheron. More determined than ever, Selena goes to prepare for the Witch Queen ritual.